The date is July 26, 2015. So I have a friend online. We haven't met, but we've been friends for several years. And it sounds to me like she's asking this question, should I commit suicide, yes or no? And personally, I think it's not a very easy answer. But at the same time, you have to admit that you even have to admit, even if you don't have friends, even if you don't have support system, deep down inside you have this fear of hurting yourself. Deep down you have this fear of wanting to do anything bad to yourself. Deep down you want to just feel good, feel happy, feel content. But it's not that easy. For me, I have bipolar disorder type 1, and it's not easy. I've had 6 hospitalizations, 2 partial hospitalizations, and one 90-day IRTS intensive residential treatment, which is basically a group home for 90 days. Things weren't easy for me. And it personally, I feel really hurt by your message. It's like this sulking feeling that I have inside, and I can't express it other than say that I feel deep regrets for how you're feeling, and personally, I feel angry about it. I think there's some irritability with it that comes with it, but at the same time, it's worth mentioning this, that how can you save someone when they don't want to save themselves? It seems really difficult because sometimes I feel like I should be in the hospital and I should go back, and I should always just go back and forth, live in a group home, in and out, and just deal with it like that. But at the same time, I feel completely backstabbed because at the same time, I struggled with a mental illness. I struggled with suicidal ideations. I struggled with issues like this. I just don't feel like how that makes me feel any better about my own life. Because not only are you affecting the life that you're dealing with, you're affecting the life that when you tell it to me, the way you act about it. Because you should be able to go to the hospital, which you won't. So I personally feel like I have to send out a big message to you and people, those like me who've had issues regarding with their own health and dealing with death, especially suicide. What is the best step? Is it always about trying to cry wolf and getting to the hospital, or is it worse to just sit in your own shit and just feel miserable half of the time or all the time, whatever you're feeling? There's really no straight answer other than the fact that you really have to try to make the best choices that you can be doing right now. And if you're not in DBT, you don't have a therapist, you're not seeing you're angry at your psychiatrist, you won't go to the hospital. So there's a means to an end, and in the end it feels like I'm the one that has to take on this predicament of your death. And it is a burden, and I feel that why should I have to feel guilty about it? But I do feel guilty, and to bluntly explain it to you, I just feel angry because I also feel helpless. I think that I want to be able to help you, but I don't know the way to help you out other than the fact that you got to try certain skills. There's certain skills you could try to encourage yourself more. You could try to thought stop. When a negative thought comes up, you could try to block that out, push it away, push it on a shelf, wait till later and deal with it later. Or you could just distract with some activity or some other contributing thing that you could be doing outside of your own little apartment. I think that's the biggest problem right now is your living situation. Living in your own little apartment by yourself is probably not going to help you out in the end because you kind of need that interaction if you want to feel like you can get anywhere. I think loneliness can really kill you. It kills me, especially when I feel like my brother's sleeping or my dad is just kind of in his own little world. So at the same time, I feel like this is my personal message to you, that if you want to commit suicide, go ahead. But at the same time, I'm going to be the one that has to suffer as well. So just because you want to commit suicide doesn't mean I won't have any effects, doesn't mean you won't affect the other lives of others, because you fucking will. And I personally feel that it's not about the money this time, and it isn't about some spiritual entity that you have to come. It's just basic. It's just the basic idea of reality, and that is the willingness to survive. Do you have that willingness? Because you have to have that willingness if you want to fight all this negative thinking away, because that negative thinking can really distort everything. And for me, it just brings sadness, it just brings depression, it brings anger, it brings sense of lost. It brings a lot of these negative feelings that I feel like I don't want in my life right now. But I feel that my answer to you is you have to be willing to survive. You have to be willing to fight.
You should tell her the reason why you should care is because I care.
And as Kyle said, the reason why you should care is because I care. I care about you, and no one else seems to give a shit about you right now because no one else seems to listen. They want me to run away. They want me to just push it aside, but at the same time, I'm feeling like you got to fight for it. If you can't fight for it, then what's going to bring you to the hospital? You're not going to go. In the story, that's simple. Kyle has always mentioned that I've changed since I've, was in the 90-day urge. And I feel I did. Can you explain to them what changed?
I'm naked, man. It doesn't matter.
You can just say it behind the camera. You don't have to be in the camera. Just say what things changed and why I changed.
The things that changed with Travis is, 1, he's stable. 2, he's able to hold a job. And 3, he's not like throwing kicks and giggles going off the walls. And the reason why is his mood is really regulated. I don't know why. It could be due to the medicine that actually is helping him and the hormone. I really think it really was the medicine that actually really helped, but that was like only half of it. I mean, if he didn't go to therapy, if he didn't talk to the social workers and the psychiatrists, he would go back, because you got to do it all. It takes work. This is the thing you have to see about mental illness. It's not a reward. It's a job. You may not be able to hold a job, but in the end, it is a job. It's a responsibility. And I think it's unfair that it's good that you're reaching out, but if you're not willing to budge, you got to be willing to budge and willing to change yourself. If you really care about Travis if it makes you miserable and the guilt.
She tells me I don't. You tell me that I don't care about you because I'm telling you to go to the hospital. I don't think that's care. It's because it's for your safety. Yes. You're not safe at home, so why would you want to stay at home if you're not safe? You're by yourself. There's no one there. You have no one else to put attention on you. You're not safe there. There's probably a reason why you lasted 4 weeks in a hospital. You spent 4 weeks in a fucking hospital because you were stable there. And if you weren't even stable, you were at least safe. Now, as Kyle stated, there are several other factors that is involved. I go to DBT 3 days a week. I'm working 14 hours a week.
But something got you there. What I think that's what Yumi wants, is that answer. Why did you choose to live
versus death? Why did I choose life instead of death? Yeah. The reason why I chose life instead of death is because I think death is harder to reach. One reason is that, killing yourself could go completely wrong and you end up in a worse state. People who drink themselves half to death literally have diabetes and pancreatitis and have to take shots for it. And I met some of these people when I was in the IRTs. Another set of people they try to take pills and one ends up chipping a tooth. There's too much room for failure when it comes to killing yourself. It's just suicide. And there's not a lot of wiggle room. You got to make sure that you do it right, and you got to concretely believe that you're going to die, because if you don't fucking die, you're going to live a fucking miserable, crutched life worse than what you live now, and you got to radically accept it. I would feel a lot worse if I was in that situation.
Yeah, if you're paralyzed and can't move.
Someone tried to jump from a story building at the IRTs, and now she's in pain because she didn't die. You hear that? She didn't fucking die from trying to kill herself. So because of that fault, she's not only left with medical bills that it has to pay for. She can't even recover it from it because it's a permanent fucking death to her spine.
Every choice is a consequence.
So even if you cut this deep vein that you want to do, there's gonna be a big consequence. It's gonna be expensive for one thing, and you'd be lucky if your bills pay for it.
It's about choosing to do things that actually benefit you, not in the long run.
So in the end, I think that this is what's gonna probably eat up in my mind for a very long time until you actually try to do something about it. But at least this video will be up for a while, and I'm pretty sure that you should be able to see this, and I want you to see this because if you believed you weren't worthy of anything, I want you to know that you were worthy of something because at least I made a video on it.
So don't die, live. Why? That's the answer. You'll have to figure out that answer.
So in a nutshell, should I commit suicide? If I were you, I would say no.
Because you have a lot of people that care about you, and two, there's big consequences.
There's consequences if you try committing suicide, and there's people that care about you in the end. And that's it. Thank you.